Our discussion with sales promotion tactics, we'll talk about premiums. A premium is an offer for an item or piece of merchandise that is generally free to the consumer. That's an extra incentive to encourage impulse buys. So a free premium is a free piece of merchandise or a free item that is included in the product package to encourage impulse buys. And this is not a sample, right? So it's not the same product. And it's not a promotional product because it's not branded, but it's like the toy that you would see in a cereal box or a toy that you would get in a children's meal. So a lot of times, if you buy a product, you'll be enticed to choose that specific product because you do get that free item. And so these premiums do add high impulse value and provide that extra incentive to buy the product. The next sales promotion tactic we're going to look at are contest and sweepstakes. Contests and sweepstakes continue to grow in popularity, and advertisers spent over $2 billion on them last year alone. These tools have way more glamour to them than like a 50-cent off coupon would to the consumer. So what we found is that consumers are more likely to respond to a contest or sweepstakes than they would be a sample or a coupon. Now, consumers tend to use contest and sweepstakes interchangeably or think that they're basically the same thing. But there are a few very distinct differences that we need to know about contest and sweepstakes. So first, let's look at a contest. A contest is a promotion where consumers are going to compete for prizes on the basis of skill or ability. And with a contest, the company is going to choose the winner by judging entries. And they're going to pick the entry that comes close or closest to meeting the predetermined criteria set by that company. So think about a hole-in-one contest that a company might host. The person who gets the hole-in-one or closest to the hole-in-one is going to win the prize. So you have to have some kind of skill or ability to be able to win that contest. Another example would be an NCAA bracket game. So a lot of companies will put together bracket games for their customers to compete in. And if you choose the right selection of teams, you will win the prize. And there is a little bit of ability there because you have to understand the teams, the statistics, etc., to choose the winner. And there's only one winner. It's the person who gets the most points. And so that's a contest. A sweepstakes, on the other hand, is a promotion where winners are determined purely by chance. So a sweepstakes doesn't require any proof of purchase to enter, and there are a lot of games that we consider to be sweepstakes. So any type of scratch-off card with a discount or instant win that you might get, that's a sweepstakes. And so Kohl's does that a lot, where they hand you a card when you come into the store and you scratch it off. And there could be 4 different options of a prize, which is generally a percentage off your purchase that you might get. Another type of game that's considered a sweepstakes would be a game where consumers collect game pieces. And then if you get a certain combination of those game pieces, you, by chance, will win that prize. And collecting game pieces has become a very popular promotion because it does require repeat visits to your store. Sweepstakes are much easier to enter because there's no skill or ability required. And so sweepstakes do tend to have a lot more participants than contest will. There are a lot of legal issues that come with both sweepstakes and contest because you do have to make sure you are being fair. The other thing is that sweepstakes and contests do really require a lot of upfront cost. But the good thing is you generally know how much it's going to cost at the beginning. But if you're going to give away a new car, obviously that cost is going to be pretty high, right? So you have to understand what those costs are up front. So here's a few examples of contests and sweepstakes that we've seen in the past year. So to wrap up our conversation on sales promotion, there's a few things we need to think about. The first is sales promotion abuse. And so this is one IMC category of promotional tools where consumers can really take advantage of the company if they wanted to. And a couple of ways that sales promotions are abused is that there are consumers who do wait for coupons. And so they're going to wait for these coupons, and therefore they're not going to buy your product at full price because they know that eventually they can get a deal. Another type of sales promotion abuse, specifically with coupons, is that consumers might make copies and they might use more than the one that was sent to them. And so therefore, it's going to inflate the number of coupons that are redeemed. And we know that generally a low percentage of coupons are redeemed, but a lot of times companies will set an expectation of how many they expect to come back. And so if you have one customer who's printing multiple copies and using it over and over, that's an abuse of sales promotion. And the company ultimately ends up losing profit. Another issue with sales promotions is that it could lead to a loss of brand value for the company. And so it's a risk to run multiple sales promotions because of that loss of brand value. Companies who run discounts and deals are often giving incentives for the product or service that they're selling. And so consumers might equate that with the brand being cheap. Or consumers might think, well, obviously, if they're putting it on sale, it's not worth the regular price, right? So that can create some negative brand connotations. And then the last concern with using sales promotions is that it's hard to attribute the purchase to a favorable brand attitude. So a customer might not be buying the product because they like the brand. They're only buying it because there's an incentive or because it's the cheapest. So there are a lot of risks with running sales promotions, but ultimately, right, brands are still going to do it because consumers expect it. It's important to, again, remember the long-term goals and not let these risks get in the way of running a sales promotion. A couple other things to consider. First of all, the budget. Sales promotions do cost large amounts of upfront sums. And you do have to pay for all of those discounted prices that you give to your customers. So one way you can allocate sales promotions is charge it to operations as part of a product cost. This does affect profit margin directly, but it removes some of the costs from the IMC plan. The other thing you can do is account for it in the IMC budget. And so it becomes a line item. This is what it's going to cost to run the promotion, what it's going to cost to distribute the samples, what it's going to cost to distribute the coupons, what it's going to cost to run the contest. And then you can also have a line item for all of the discounts. So here's what 20% off would be, and we'll pay for that to make up for lost profit as a marketing team. The other thing to consider is how to coordinate with your other IMC tactics. So a lot of times, if you're running a sales promotion, you'll talk about it in your TV commercials, or you might be sending your coupon out via direct mail, or you might be giving a sample away with the promotional product. So again, you have to consider how you're going to pay for the sales promotions and how you're going to coordinate it with the rest of your IMC tactics. And that brings us to the end of our conversation on sales promotions.